Did you know that in the US, there really is no direct path from going from F1 to getting a green card? It's not one of those countries where you automatically get a green card just because you've lived in the country for a certain number of years. So, you came to the US on an F1 visa, and now you're wondering, can I actually stay here long term? The truth is, there's no direct path from an F1 to a green card, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. In today's video, I'll share a couple options for you to consider exploring. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Amara. I'm an international student myself, and on this channel, I share useful tips about moving to the US and also very helpful content for students navigating life in the US. If this sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So let's start with the basics. For most people who come here on an F1 visa, your journey is going to look something like this. After graduating, you get an OPT for 1 year. After your OPT, if you're a STEM major, you do the 24-month STEM OPT extension, and then sometime in that window, if you get lucky, you can then transition to an H-1B visa or to other visa types. Let's talk about the H-1B visa real quick. So the H-1B visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows US companies to hire foreigners in specialty occupations that typically would require a bachelor's degree or an advanced degree. This visa is valid for 6 years, and for most people, it can be a stepping stone to getting a green card via the employer sponsorship pathway. Here are a couple of things to keep in mind about the H-1B process. The first one is that it's actually a lottery process, so not everyone who applies gets picked. The US CIS, or the US government, has an annual cap of 65,000 H-1B visas and an additional 20,000 for people who have an advanced degree. So if you have a master's or a PhD, there's an extra 20,000 visas for people like that. As you can imagine, this is not nearly enough for the number of people who are applying for H-1B visas every year, which I guess makes sense that the government decided to go with this lottery system. However, certain employers are exempt from this visa cap. Some of the organizations or kind of employers that are exempt from this cap include non-profit higher institutions. So think about the US accredited colleges or universities. These are exempt from that cap. Also, non-profit or US government research organizations are also exempt from the cap. And finally, non-profit entities that are affiliated with institutions of higher education. So for example, if you think about like a teaching hospital that's affiliated to a university, those are also exempt from the visa cap. What this means is if you get employed by one of these organizations that I've mentioned, the cap doesn't apply to you. If they file for an H-1B visa for you, you will get one, all things being equal. Like you might have deduced so far, the H-1B visa requires employer sponsorship, and also there are deadlines for filing and for also getting notified. Usually all of this happens yearly in March. So I think like the window for your company to apply for you opens sometime in the beginning of March. USCIS does the draws sometime in the end of March. It also notifies people who got picked in March as well. And this is a once yearly activity. So like I mentioned earlier, usually the H-1B is a stepping stone to getting employment-based green cards. So let's talk about employment-based green cards real quick. So these are your EB2s and EB3s. They require employer sponsorship. And although there are a handful of companies that would start filing for an employment-based green card for you straight off the bat, so once you get employed by them, they're going to file for a work green card for you immediately. That is not the norm. Most companies actually prefer that you go through this path of being on OPT and then trying for the H-1B because, you know, the H-1B sometimes requires multiple trials. Then if you get the H-1B, eventually filing for an employment-based green card for you, typically after you've worked with them for a couple of years. Some companies would also file for you if they see that maybe you're on your last trial of an H-1B and you haven't gotten lucky with getting picked yet. So like I said again, both the EB2 and EB3 are employment-based green cards. So I guess it varies from company to company which one they decide to go with. I'm going to put a link to the USCIS website that talks about all the employment-based green cards so you can read more about it and get informed. Under the employment-based green cards, there is something called the EB2 NIW. So NIW stands for National Interest Waiver. What this means is you don't require a company to sponsor you or to file for you. You can self-petition, and you're basically asking the US government to waive the requirement of having a job for you because your skills or your abilities are of national interest to the country. And like I said, the benefit about this is that you can petition for yourself. You don't need a company to sponsor you. And if you get approved and you get a green card through this pathway, you are not tied to a company. Something I forgot to mention actually is that you would find that a good number of companies require you to work with them for a couple of years if they provide a green card for you, which may or may not be a good thing depending on what your career goals are. But if you do the EB2 NIW and you get petitioned, you're not tied to any company. You have the freedom to work for whoever you would like to work for. And then finally, under the employment-based green cards, I would like to touch briefly on the EB1. So the EB1 is infamously dubbed the Einstein visa. It's reserved for people who are at the top of their fields, highly awarded, highly recognized, very skilled. It's something you can look into, especially if you already had an established career before coming to the US or before coming to grad school. You might qualify for the EB1, so you should definitely look into it and see if you're able to apply for this. At this point, I would like to kindly ask that if you've found value in this video so far, please just hit that like button for me and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. The next option for a green card that you could explore is the family-based option. So what this means, simply put, is that if you marry a US citizen or a US green card holder, you can get a marriage-based green card. What I will say here is, if you come to the US and you're single, maybe consider dating intentionally, but do not exploit people. Please, please, please make sure that your intentions are genuine. Don't exploit people. It's not nice. It's not kind. And more importantly, the government is cracking down on illegitimate marriages. So if you're marrying someone just because you want to get a green card from them, you might not be able to get that in the end if the government finds out that your marriage is fraudulent. So just be very careful and make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons. And then there's what I consider like the special cases. For example, if your country is eligible for the DV visa, so the diversity visa lottery, enter. The chances are low, yes, but people get picked, right? And the wonderful thing is you don't even have to wait until after you finish studying. You can apply every year. If you're an undergrad, from the first year you get here, every year enter the lottery. See what happens. You really never know. You might get lucky. So definitely consider that. You could also apply for like an asylum or refugee status if it applies to you. Please tread carefully, and very importantly, consult a qualified immigration attorney to help you, especially if you're in this like special category. Here are a couple of things to keep in mind throughout this process. Please do your best to ensure that you're maintaining legal status all the way through until you get a green card. It's very, very important. You don't want one thing to be the reason why your application is not approved or anything like that. So take the maintenance of your legal status very seriously. The second thing is start early, especially when you're looking for jobs and looking for jobs that will sponsor. Those jobs are like hot cake. They go very, very fast. So start early. You really don't want any last minute rushes. Please start early. And the final thing I would say here is, if you're qualified to self-petition, say for like the EB2 NIW or for the EB1, do it as soon as you can. Do it as soon as you can for various reasons. One, there's currently a backlog. So even when you get approved right now, you may not be able to adjust your status to get a green card. Two, immigration policies change very, very, very quickly. Don't wait. Don't wait. The minute you know that you qualify for something, just apply. apply, apply, apply. And then finally, there also could be like a really long wait time to hear back from USCIS. So, you know, you don't want to be stuck, you know, you don't want to be in a situation where because you're waiting to hear from USCIS, you're now out of status. You know, remember what I talked about the first time? You need to maintain legal status the entire time. So please apply on time. Immediately you know you qualify for something, go for it. Summary, the most common pathway is F1, OPT, STEM OPT, H1B, and then maybe an employment-based green card. The employment-based green card categories include the EB2s, so normal EB2 and the EB2 NIW, also the EB3, and additionally the EB1 as well. And then you can explore the family-based options, so marrying a US citizen or a green card holder. Then you can also explore the diversity visa lottery or asylum or refugee status if you qualify or if it applies to you. To wrap up this video, I'm going to leave you with two questions. The first one is, did you know that in the US, there really is no direct path from going from F1 to getting a green card? Like, it's not one of those countries where you automatically get a green card just because you've lived in the country for a certain number of years. And then the final question is, which of these pathways are you going to consider exploring, or have you already started exploring them already? Leave your answers in the comment box below. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.